with that, I'd like to move into the next panel. And speak of the devil, I'm going to call up my boss man, Zeev Klein, who's our CEO. He's going to lead a fascinating discussion on the video revolution. And what better way to introduce the video revolution than a video?
He works in media, and she works in marketing, but they're in the same boat, because he's like...
How can we boost these numbers?
And she's like...
How can we get eyes on this collection?
We can do something with an old show. Dude, Night Boat.
Night Boat, a shadowy flight into the world of...
We can live stream the fashion show.
Or the summer collection.
Let's get some buzz on social. Put on a lookalike contest. No. Him. Perfect. Give him an award. Stream it online, put some ads on it. Not those ads. Those ads.
Look at this. We are blowing up on Facebook. Focus on those shoes. No, those. No, those. Perfect. Put it online. Make it interactive.
Wait. Don't Germans like this show? Translate to German, cut a deal overseas, make an app, watch the data. Yes. Germans love this show.
Don't we make these in the room? Chop it up, grab that singer. Her. Make a GIF. Make a guff.
What's a guff?
Watch the data.
Watch the data.
Watch the data.
We can do better.
We can do better.
Yeah, they can do better.
Same show, different audience.
Same product, different market.
Night Boat app on fire in Australia. Get more episodes for the OTT launch.
They love the shoes in Japan. Launch it on social.
Chop it up.
Change it up.
Rethink.
Redistribute.
Watch the data.
Watch the data.
It works.
It works.
Nice show.
Nice shoes.
Well, that was excellent. That was a great segue. Greetings, everybody. My name is Zeev Klein. Scott was very gracious. You get a raise. Thank you so much. Let's do a vocal cord warm-up, just get everybody kind of involved. Urs, they mentioned Germany, so I'm going to start with you. 60-second introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And then I'll dive into some of my questions.
I like those shoes. Urs Cete, I run Bertelsmann's corporate venture fund. Bertelsmann is a big, still family-owned, $19 billion media company. Largest division would be RTL Group, which is television. Then we have other divisions, Penguin Random House for books, Gruner & Jahr for magazines, and so on. I run a venture fund, so we invest in early-stage startups. So whatever I'll say here will be tainted by the occupational hazard of being very positive. As a VC, you have to be very forward-looking to the future and not as negative. And I think that's it.
Perfect. David.
Hi, I'm David Mendels. I'm the CEO of Brightcove. That was our video. That's what we do. We are a cloud video services company that provides a platform for both media companies and for brands to deliver great video experiences. So if you're a media company doing OTT services, doing ad-supported short-form video, if you're a brand doing e-commerce or franchise training or anywhere along that customer journey, we can help you deliver great experiences across all of that. That's what we do.
Kesal.
Hi guys, Kesal Patel, head of video at Dow Jones. So my role consists in two parts. One is I sit over the editorial function in terms of creating content across all of our brands, whether it's the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, MarketWatch, and all of those sub-brands reaching consumers wherever they are. And then the other side is kind of the commercial and the operations side of now that we've got all of this content, how are we putting it out in the world? How are we distributing it? How are we monetizing it? And all of those things, which has been a challenge that I'm sure we'll get into shortly.
Awesome, thank you. So that was a great introduction. I like when we have continuity in our content, and if we heard earlier, the term video came up a bunch. Stealing this from Dave Madden, from EA, he referred to this generation as Gen C, which he defined as connected creative consumers. So Kesal, as an opening question for you, I think there's been some changes in the behavior and consumption of Gen C, and as a result, Gen C, I think, has driven changes in all generations. How are you guys acknowledging or at least reacting to these changes, and kind of what are both the opportunities and perhaps some of the challenges or risks associated with that?
Yeah, you know, it used to be that when you put a name like the Wall Street Journal out in the world, people would be willing to go to our website and go to our own platforms to consume video. Now people are, or consumers are very much just driven to stay in the platform they're on, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, whether they're on Apple TV, on Roku. If we don't put our content where the consumer is, they really don't want to watch it, right? The market's just so saturated with so much content that we can't expect any more people to come to our own platforms to actually consume anything. We have to be forward thinking and kind of create that experience where I want to put content where that consumer is. So, it's no longer expecting somebody to click off of Facebook and come to, barons.com to watch a video. It's playing things in stream, and it's putting things where consumers are, which is a challenge, and it's tough to be able to distribute across everything when we need to. So we're trying to at least be pretty strategic about where we're going and all those sorts of things, but it's definitely a challenge.
David, and I encourage you to name names. Do you have any examples within perhaps your portfolio of, let's say, best case examples and worst case examples of what are things to do and not to do that you've seen your clients in terms of how to best execute?
Well, I think the point that Kesal just made is exactly right. You got to get the video to where the consumer is, and I think that's fundamental. And so that's point one, and that's a key thing we're helping a lot of our customers with, and not just playing video on your own site, which is where we all started 10 years ago, but how do you then distribute that across all the social platforms, across syndication partners and the like. The other thing where I think we got some really good examples that I think is key for this generation is performance. Many of us in this room are not in our 20s, I think. I'm not, certainly. And we all remember the first generation 10 years ago of online video where you had a little postage stamp on your desktop and you waited 10 seconds or 20 seconds. And it was a pretty dismal experience. We don't have, and so today's video seems great. But for the younger generation, their expectations are completely different. The bar has been raised completely. So if it takes an extra second of rebuffering or an extra second of load time, a few years ago, that would mean an extra, a fewer 5 minutes or so of view time. Now it means no view time. And so I think in that regard, if you look at what Snapchat's doing, I think they've really pioneered and focused on the performance and the experience that they're able to deliver, where you flip through their videos, and I'm thinking about the Discover stuff where they're doing premium video from a wide range of folks, and they just provide a fantastic experience, often many times better than what's on the home sites of those brands. And so I think that's a great example. It's a key thing that we're trying to democratize, to make it possible for everyone to deliver instant on, instant changeable, instant channel switching of the video. And I think that's critical for this generation. Every 100 milliseconds matters to this group.
Thank you for that. Urs, you perhaps have a bit more of a global view, and so for us stupid Americans that are only accustomed to the things that we see, give us maybe some insights. What do you see globally? Obviously you have a European bend, but I know you work in other regions as well.
Well, if I look at Europe, the usage of some of the platforms that are hot or big here is not necessarily there yet. They lag in some of those platforms, lagging when it comes to reach. Snapchat is not that big yet in Europe, but then in Asia you have other players, like you have the WeChats, whatever of the world, which have a lot more kind of engagement with the young people. But generally speaking, I think those markets do move kind of the same way. Just there might be a little time lag in between here and there. And whenever it comes to data like privacy, those are the things where then maybe models even break because Europe has very different kind of privacy rules than here in the US.
Let's talk quickly about digital ads, video ads. Obviously, that's been an interesting sector. Perhaps, Kesal, starting with you, there is a need to monetize video, but there's also a challenge of too much ads, I think, will turn away consumers. And so how do you reconcile that balance?
It's interesting, right? Because the idea of online ads, then there's two pieces of it. It's do we monetize everything, or do we try to distribute, kind of wholly? Social is a great example of it. We can put videos on Facebook, but we lose monetization. But we're going to get more views, we're going to get more consumers in front of them. Do we drive folks to our platform where where our CPMs are higher, where we can do all these things? So we're trying to find that balance, which is tough. And then we go back into the whole ad viewability model of, we're not going to count this as an impression until I get 5 or 10 seconds in. But if it's a 15-second ad and my entire video, which we're creating for social now, is 30 seconds, is that a good consumer experience or not? It used to be that there's a video, we're throwing an ad on it, and we're going to walk away. Now it's consumers, to Dave's point, consumers, if I have to wait a millisecond for a video to load, I'm going to walk away. If I have to wait 15 seconds to watch a 30-second video, I'm absolutely going to walk away. Right, so it's kind of it's a struggle to find.
We all
balance.
do that. CNN's the worst. For a 15-second video, a 30-second ad, forget it. Right? There's an ad-to-view ratio that you're willing to endure. How many of you have been interrupted in a YouTube video by an ad in the middle? Right? At a certain point, just like, nope, not for me, walking away. And so that is a real challenge.
So in the century or so of TV experience, there was a social compact, and people understood they could get up and get coffee when the commercials came on. They could switch the channels. But for the most part, there was this relationship where, hey, I'm getting all this stuff for free. I get to watch, Friends or whatever, and in exchange for that, they show ads. And people understood that, and it was an okay relationship because it was a pretty good experience. The problem we have today is that that's broken because the experience is terrible most of the time. It's the length of the ad. A pre-roll that's 30 seconds on a 15-second video is obviously unacceptable. It's the wait time. It's the gap between the ad and the content where you have that spinning wheel of death. It's the fact that the ad's in SD and the content's in HD and you have this horrible jarring experience. It's the fact that as you span across all the devices in our life, all the Android devices, the connected TVs, the error rates and failure rates are incredibly high. So there are things we could do to fix that, and that's a key focus, is how do you deliver a more seamless, more TV-like experience where it starts fast, the ad and the TV and the content flow together seamlessly, it works on every device. And if you can do that, what we see is a much higher engagement rate, much lower drop-off rate. If you have bad content and you put a lot of ads in front of it, you're going to lose your viewers. That's just basic. But you can improve the experience, and we're seeing people do that and get a huge uplift.
Great point. Urs, as we think a little bit ahead to the future, part of your job is perhaps disrupting incumbent businesses, perhaps even your business. What are a couple either deals that you've done or trends that you're honing in on, thinking about what does the next generation of kind of video look like, content monetization, et cetera?
Well, before disrupting it, we first have to understand our own business a little better. So lately I spend a lot of time on platform publishing. So if you look at a chart, how did a media company in the past publish something? It's a fairly easy graph. And if you look at the decision that a media owner now has to do, it looks like a Luma chart. You have for every article you guys write, you have to decide, do I put a teaser on Snapchat? Do I use Instagram? Things like that. So it's way more complicated now. And then also, especially if you keep monetization in mind as well, it adds to the complexity. Stuff we do, of course, is we look at how would a Snapchat media company look like. There's something like an Arsenic TV which is out there. It's content which I think is a little more kind of a lifestyle Playboy style or GQ style content. But how would that work? How would they make money at some point? Is native going to scale enough to make that happen? What's the value of a view on YouTube? How do you even produce content for Facebook? Because it counts after 3 seconds, it's a view. So that this leads a lot of people to change the way they do videos. You have to sometimes even destroy the chronological order, put the highlight at the beginning so that people stay long enough to get over 3 seconds, and then you tell the rest of the story. It's a complicated world that we live out there compared to 10 years ago. And yeah, things like Snapchat. We spend a lot of time lately on AI. Like what's Messenger going to do with it? How does content distribution in Messenger will look? Everyone now has to have a chatbot, looks like it. So, but I'm sure it's not going to stay that way. But what are those things, and how do they impact a media company like ours?
Thank you for that. David, as I think a little bit about some of the brands in the room perhaps that are looking at how they can use video, what insights do you have in terms of perhaps the shift of the customer journey, some of the things that perhaps they had previously done in terms of engagement? What does video perhaps enable them to do now, and kind of looking forward?
I think the sort of the buzzword of the decade is engagement, right? So how do you engage an audience if you're a brand at every point at which they might be deciding to buy your product? So awareness, demand, conversion, loyalty, and sort of back around again. And video, and we know this from 100 years of TV, video is the best medium to engage an audience. It's the best way to communicate. And so to date, for most marketers and brands, video has been this sort of separate silo. They have all this, what you call the marketing cloud or the marketing stack, where they're doing email marketing, they're doing landing page marketing, they might be doing white paper marketing. And all of that's integrated together around a sense of an audience and campaigns and how you reach people in an engaging way. Video to date has been sort of an isolated silo on the side. Oh, let's put up some videos on YouTube. And what's possible now, and something we've been really focused on, is how do you make video a first-class citizen in that marketing stack? How do you tie it into the same analytics, the same campaign tools, the same, Eloqua and Salesforce.com and Demandbase and all the other tools that brands are using to think about how they engage their audience? And so we're seeing people use that now, where it's not just, hey, I put up a video, but I know who watched which videos for how long, and I can use that to recommend the next video. I can use that to send the next email. And we see improvements on e-commerce sites where conversion rates go up, post sales where returns go down because of how-to videos. Just a really wide range of examples, and really video helping people transform how they think about what their mission is. So a good example would be Sotheby's. I think they're a 400-year-old auction house. And they're doing really cool stuff on Apple TV and connected TVs and iOS and Android with video, where they realized, on the one hand, people want to watch these auctions, so they got the live content and all the other stuff. But then they're like, well, their brand is also about art and culture and high culture. And so they've set up this museum network where they're bringing in content from all of these great museums around the world into their app that drives in a whole set of viewers that never would have gone to a Sotheby's thing. That was this highly rarefied, isolated thing. And suddenly they're this much broader brand for culture and art that's available on your TV. And that's just a way to sort of reimagine who you are because of what's possible now with video.
Excellent. So I do something when I moderate that I like to call my lightning round, and so we're going to enter into a short lightning round. Hope you guys are with me on this. I'm going to start a sentence, leave a blank, and you guys need to fill it in. We're going to go through this really quick. Everybody ready? Can I get a little soft drum roll? All right. Kesal, here we go. Ready?
Let's see it.
Ready? Okay. Facebook is
where content's going.
Good answer. Ready, David?
Yep.
Google should.
Pay creators more.
Good answer. Urs, you mentioned Snapchat. Snapchat will, or Snap will.
Will get older. Like Facebook did.
I think you owe us a follow-up to that.
I mean, like the parents will be now on Snapchat, and then we'll have to see whether at some point the cool kids move on to the next thing.
All right. True? We're going to bring it back. Ready? A little tough for this second go-round. Privacy can be, Urs.
Very challenging in Europe.
David, data must.
Data must.
Oh, just kidding.
Get to the right people in the right way.
Kesal, you ready? Content thrives.
On data.
Okay, that wasn't that provocative. I thought you guys would have. You want one more round?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Urs, Apple may eventually do something crazy. And that thing that they do that'll crazy will be?
Enter the VR space with hardware.
Okay. David, AR, VR will eventually become bigger than mobile. True or false?
False.
Define bigger. Is your question.
I think it's by definition false because it will be mobile, and so mobile is clearly a superset of that. Those aren't in contraposition; they're orthogonal to each other. I think AR VR will be big. I think the use cases are still unclear. I think games and certain kinds of entertainment. I think, but there's still lots of room for 2D content for a wide range of use cases. So I think mobile will be bigger, but AR VR will be deeper in some ways because the kinds of experiences you can create, the kinds of engagement you can create, are going to be so incredible that I think there'll be. I think one's broader, one's deeper. That's the way I'd go.
Thank you for that. Kesal, your last lightning round question. We talked about this earlier. We're both sports guys. Sports will be energized when?
I'd love to see sports kind of fully filmed in AR and VR. This is kind of the next thing for me. If I'm watching an NBA game and I can decide where to look, and if I can decide to watch the pick or watch the shot or do these things, I think it would just be incredible.
All right. So thank you for that. That's the end of our lightning round. I have kind of, in our time remaining, one or two last questions for everybody here. Before I get to that, though, we talked a little bit about today. I'm hoping to evoke more in terms of kind of forward thinking. And so, Urs, and then we'll kind of run back the same question to everybody. A trend, a prediction as we think of kind of 2017, 2018. We have a bright audience here in front of us. What's something that we should be thinking that's coming up? What's something that's ahead of us that you're at least thinking about, or perhaps you think the audience should be aware of?
Good. It'll be a little bit like the AR, VR. I think AR is going to be bigger than VR, and how will that impact our day-to-day life? Other things we spend time on is what does a voice UI environment look like? Everyone now can buy an Amazon Echo Dot for $50, but the reaction to if you interact with it, it's very different. If you do a Google search, you'll see 10 results. If you do a voice search, they will likely only give you one result. So if you're the number 2, you lose out. So what does it do for a company in that space?
Same question, David.
We've been at this online video thing for 12 years, and we've seen this incredible explosion, the quality, diversity of content, the consumer adoption of devices and viewing experiences and the like. But I'd say it's still radically too difficult to deliver great experiences across devices and radically too expensive. And what we need to see, and I think we can see over the next 2 years, is a radical simplification of how do I get my content out to all these devices, how do I get it out to all these social endpoints, but also a reduction in cost. The business models that a lot of people are pursuing simply won't work with the current cost structure for delivering video. And so we have to figure out, and this is something we're working on, but a lot of people are working on, is how do we get radical reductions in cost and complexity so that these businesses can thrive? Because there's a lot of really exciting things going on that aren't going to make it right now because the money and the costs aren't lining up.
Excellent. Kesal, same question.
I think it's the length of content. I think people are finding more and more that their biggest commodity is time, and I was trained in kind of the long form journalistic model, and that's kind of dying. Nobody really wants to spend 20 minutes reading anything or 20 minutes watching a video. I want to be able to consume content in 30 seconds and get the entire context of it through. So I think it's going to be interesting to see these classic media companies, these classic journalistic kind of long brands go from the 3-month reporting to put out this huge Pulitzer-winning story into I need to condense this thing and I need to be able to read it in 10 minutes or less. I mean, I think Medium does it great. I love the fact when I open a Medium story, it tells me exactly how long it's going to take to read. And I find myself doing it. If it's going to take more than 10 minutes, I bookmark, I'll read it later. I never read it later, right? But it's kind of where everything's going. People want something that they can quickly consume and move on to the next thing.
Great answer. So for my last question, we'll go down. Urs, I'll start again with you. For the entrepreneurs in the room that are thinking of kind of video disruption, what advice do you have for them?
It's a great time to be in video. There's a lot of demand for advertising space in there, and there's not enough supply. There are people who have video and people who want it. It's great to do more in video. We fund a lot of the startups in the video space. We have a big portfolio. I don't want to pimp some of them out. Juke and Media, Vemba, Iris TV. So all these great startups that tackle the problem of solving, that's out there for video.
Nice. David, similar question for the marketers and brands that are here in the room thinking of expanding their video platform, perhaps even taking some initial forays if they haven't yet, which would be surprising. What advice do you have for them?
I think the word platform, think about it as a platform instead of as a silo that okay, we're going to put up some videos on YouTube, and think about how do you integrate video across all of your customer and prospect and stakeholder touch points. How do you do live events? Hugo Boss is a customer of ours. And they've done fashion shows in Milan and Shanghai and Tokyo, not Tokyo, New York, sorry. New York Fashion Week, for decades. But now they do them with live broadcasting. And they reach wholly different audiences. And now they're integrating commerce into that where people can buy stuff. And so don't just think about video as a technology. Think about it as something that you can integrate into all of the ways you're touching your customers.
Excellent. Kesal, and last question, similarly for the publishers and the content creators in the room, what advice do you have as they think ahead?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are creating video for the sake of doing it. Everybody says that you need to create more video. And the way we're thinking about it is before we go into creating it, what's the headline going to be? And we form the story around the headline. A lot of folks are jumping in and just saying, look, we need to create video. Let's just put some visuals together and let's throw it out there without actually thinking of what story they want to convey. And I think video is huge should be huge in the publishing space, but it needs to be done in a way that actually still tells the story versus just putting it together and throwing it out there.
Excellent. So with that, join me in thanking my panel for a lovely discussion. We look forward to engaging with you later. Thank you.
Thank you.